Good morning, Service Alliance community. How y'all doing today? Alongside of me, the lovely Shayna. What's up?
Well, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. How are you doing, Zach?
I'm doing lovely. Good morning, Tim. Tim Gianelli. Good dude. He's actually been on the podcast. Interviewed him at a brand source convention. Want to talk about a good boss? It's a good boss right there. That is a good boss. Good morning, Adam. I'm doing all right today. So if you don't know how my ADHD brain works, I am the kind of person that will pick up from a text message conversation and talk to you on the phone as if we are still having the same conversation from a text message. So that's how my brain works. Morning, Oregon.
Good morning.
And Rob Jones, troublemaker extraordinaire. Good morning.
There's my friend Rob, and my friend Jeremy is on too.
Good morning. Good morning. And Saul. They're all showing up. They're all coming
They
out.
are.
It's almost as if we have a topic that's important today.
Oh my lord.
Almost.
I don't know if I have it. I don't know if I have an answer. Are you me read it?
I want you to read the statistic in your teacher voice because this made my entire morning. I'm not gonna lie.
Gallup reports that 17.5% of American workers are actively disengaged.
It just makes the statistic sound just like so much better when it comes out of like in that voice.
Join Zach and Shayna today as they discuss and bring your thoughts and drop them in the comments.
Yeah, I love it. No, but really, it's a rather disheartening statistic, right? And
Good morning.
You wonder, like, how do you combat that? Because as you and I were talking extremely briefly in the pre-roll, like, you are a great boss, but you've had people disappear. I was a crappy boss. I know why they left. Like, I was the definition of a bad boss. So,
Yeah, it's just crazy. Are we diving in, or what are we doing first?
I'm just kind of introducing it.
Okay.
Yeah. Andy thinks I'm raiding his library. The bearded wonder said that I am raiding his library. But I decided that maybe it's time for me to grow up and be an adult and like step into the role of being the leader that I've been called to be. So maybe it's time to brush the dust off of some of these books.
Well, if you ever get stuck on what books to read next, ask me or Andy.
It's true.
Don't quit jobs, they quit managers.
It's true. I mean, there is a lot of reality in that, whether it's the owner of service manager, whatever. Tim, it might be 17%, but it feels like 80. And that was something that we brought up in the pre-roll too. Before we dive like way off the deep end on this. If you're a 4-man operation, 17% is 1 out of your 4 people is disgruntled and actively like sabotaging your company.
Well, if there's 2 of you, that could be 50% of your people, actually.
Right. If there's 2 of you,
oh boy. It could actually be 100% of the people too. I'm just saying, because you and that other person.
Yeah. Well, and it could even a 1-man show, right? Like you just might be a crappy boss and you might just be rolling around there being a crappy boss to yourself. So
and you're disgruntled with yourself. Yes,
exactly. And that does happen. Well, the good and we know the bad. Yeah. So coach them up, coach them out is a great principle. In theory, when it actually works, right? So, do you want to pray us in or you want me to pray us in?
I'll let you do it. I did it last time.
All right. Dear Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this time gathered together. And we just pray you bless this conversation and that we would all come together and, just begin to tackle this and be better people in our little circles of the world. Father, we just thank you and praise you for this time. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So, yeah, I mean, it does. I couldn't numerous occasions. Yeah, I mean, that's the reality of a 1 and 2 man show, right? Like
Well, you fired yourself.
I did. I fired myself, and then some crazy idiot hired me.
You got to work somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know what you're thinking,
Because
but
I'm not paying your unemployment. So
it's true. It's true. No one was paying my unemployment. I fired myself and I started doing my other stuff. And then I got roped back into the regular workforce of things. So, wow, I got something in my eye and it is killing me. I don't know if I scratched my eye or what. I didn't put my contacts in this morning because of it. But now it's really watering. Anyway, squirrel. But so what does a good boss look like? I mean, what does a good boss look like? I'm sure you worked for a good boss somewhere along the way, Shayna.
I really haven't had that many bosses. As a teenager, I mowed yards and I had 14 of them at one point. And then I worked at a skating rink. They were good bosses, but I mean, that was so part-time. I did work at a Christian bookstore and they were good bosses, but on the other hand, their son took advantage. Like he was the child who got the position because of he was the parent's kid, and I did his work for him. So it really, and then my dad, we were discussing with my 19-year-old yesterday that because he's come in the business now, and we're teaching him how to run a business and how to be a good boss. And on the disc, he was born a high D. I always, whenever he took the original disc, D is the dominant. And I went down there and I'm like, okay, this is not a surprise, but you're a high D. Your D word is dick because you came out that way. He's a great kid. I would say he's in church. He loves God, but his D word is dick because he just is. And so we're trying to help him.
I feel you, Austin. It's all right, man. That's my D word too.
So, but Jason said to him, he said, I really truly wish that we had someone like us, like meaning me and Jason and Andy, because we were in the conversation, someone like us to teach us these things when we took over the business, because we didn't have that. And so we've had to learn on our own, and we've had so many heartaches and struggles because of it. But we weren't good bosses.
Right. I had a lot of bad bosses. I had one boss that I threatened to throw the dude in a dumpster. He was such a bad boss. This dude micromanaged and barked orders and was demeaning, and just was a complete and utter jerk all the time. He ran, I don't know, multi-million-dollar auto shop, and then I started working for him at a bar. And he thought he could run a bar in the same way that he ran an auto shop. And the reality is people in that side of service industry don't tolerate that garbage. They don't tolerate it at all. I told him I was going to throw him in a dumpster. Like, that was a legit thing. I said, you keep bugging me, I'm throwing you in the dumpster, dude. Like, we're done with this crap. To start not thinking of yourself as a boss, but another teammate head towards the same goal. Yeah, I'm torn on this, right? Because the reality is you are the boss, right? And that is one of the things they say in How to Be a Great Boss is that, like, you need to own that. You need to own that you are the boss. But how do you treat people in that position? Are you running around and just being holier than thou and, you're my peasants and you're going to serve me? No, that's the wrong way. That's how you be a bad boss, by the way. If you didn't know, that's how you're a bad boss. Good bosses realize that they are servant leaders, right? We are there to serve others. And so how do you serve the others on your team? And I feel like you and Andy do an excellent job of this. Jason too. Jason's really got just like such a servant heart all over the place.
He's definitely our mediator. So for me personally, I find the word boss in a negative tone, even though I haven't had bad bosses, but I think there's so many bad bosses out there that they have put a negative feeling
Mhm.
towards that word. So I don't allow my team to call me boss. I do have a couple of fun signs that call me boss, but the people here are not allowed to call me boss. I'm right here with them, although I'm not answering the phones anymore. I'm still right here with them. I'm part of their team. We did try using the word family. We actually used that for several years, and really that's come back to bite us because
Mhm.
this family breaks up, and when someone leaves, it's not a family. They're so we've done away with that. But we are a team. When they're here, everybody here is a team. Just like we don't call them employees, there are team members or something along those lines. So we've really truly that's been our biggest focus, and one of the reasons, like call centers, I'm not a call center, but I'm a call center type. Call centers have an average turnover of almost 50%. Um, and so we've really truly strived to get our turnover rate much lower,
Mhm.
and we've been at that 50% plenty of times, but it's about building the culture, not being a boss, not being a dictator, but building a culture of teamwork and team camaraderie and making people feel like they truly have a place here and that everybody is welcome.
Well, and I think the secret sauce in that is knowing that you are the boss, knowing that you are in charge,
Hmm.
but really approaching it from the leadership perspective, right? So, and you guys do this really well, and this is something that I've had to learn along the way, and I've done poorly, and I'm moving towards doing better. Is creating more leaders. Your goal should always be to replace yourself, and Tim's not wrong in that. I mean, he's 100% correct in what he's saying. Is that like if you are looking at it as how can I grow the next generation? How can I help those that are coming behind me? How can I serve
Hmm.
this team member today? It switches the way that you do things. It's no longer like you're serving me, you're my employee, and you just there's just such a negative connotation that comes out of that. Um, Now the reality is there is an accountability, right? They have to be accountable to someone because you can't run around and not have a boss. You can't run around and not have be accountable to someone, right? Jeremy made a joke here, but he is accountable to his family, right? His wife, his kids, like he is accountable to his family. He is accountable to his customers. So he might be a one man operation, but he's still accountable to someone,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
so as a boss, you're accountable to your team, right? As you grow that team, as you create more leaders, you are accountable to those leaders. You are accountable to those teammates, and you need to begin to listen to this. Good boss is fair. They listen, they delegate, they're respectful, they don't yell, and they're not afraid to do the same thing that they preach. And that's true. I mean, there does come a point where we have to delegate, though. We've realized that we have to take off the hat that we're wearing because we can't carry that anymore,
Yeah.
right? Maybe we're not
Sometimes,
good at
sometimes,
carrying.
well, I was gonna say sometimes we just don't want to let go of the hat. So that's been a conversation between Andy and Austin this last week about how there are things that Andy finds fun and he enjoys doing that he needs to let go, but he enjoys
Mm,
doing it. So we have that. Um, with us, we're going to be opening up a second branch in a different time zone, and so we are really truly looking at our team. Zach just disappeared. We're looking at our team and who is here and who
mhm,
can we grow in the next. We have about a year and a half. Who can we grow in the next year and a half that will go with me to the new branch to manage that? Because me and Andy will be separating as far as business is concerned, and I don't want to be the only one there that knows what they're doing. Like I have to have a team underneath me that knows it. So
mm.
like we've, especially this last year and a half, really truly been more laser focused, even more so about building our leaders and how can we build our leaders and building that training platform for them. If you went to our class at ASTI, a lot of it was about, especially when it comes to the CSRs and people in your office, it's about SOPs. What have you put in place? Not to be micromanaging them, but to give them their actual jobs to do, to give them a feeling of accomplishment and worth in your company, but then also teaching them how to be in those positions so that you don't always have to be in that position.
So one of the things, and I'll try and share the screenshot from this later, but there's a quadrant of delegate and elevate. And this is how you begin to separate those pieces as a boss in where you start to take the hats off, right? And I think this is where so many get tripped up. I know it was a place where I got tripped up. So in the top quadrant, you have love doing it and great at doing it. Next to that, you have like doing it and good at doing it. Down below, you have don't like doing it and good at doing it. And then you have don't like doing it and not good at doing it. So if it falls below into the don't like doing it, then it is something that needs to be delegated away. That is something that needs to go to someone else. Mm-hmm. Love doing it and like doing it. That's where it gets tricky. That's where you run into the stuff that Andy, he needs to take it off because he might like doing it, but he shouldn't be doing it. Right?
He's listening now.
Yeah. I knew the bearded wonder would perk up at that. But that's the reality, is that as you begin to grow that team, as you begin to bring in these other leaders and create these other leaders, you need to find things that aren't your absolute 100% love, passion as a leader, right? Or things that don't move the needle as a boss. They have an entire list in here of like boss activities. So
do you have that book on your desk, Andy?
So some examples.
No.
How to be a great boss, Andy. How to be a great boss. Achieving goals, brainstorming, developing process, forecasting, leading innovation, managing workflow, networking, paying bills, problem solving, purchasing, raising capital, researching, reviewing, scheduling, signing checks, software stuff, sourcing candidates, speaking to groups, and this list just keeps going and going and going, right? If you're taking packages to the mailbox and you have team members, like, you're not doing it right. Like, you shouldn't be spending the time taking packages to the mail as boss.
Which is why this package has been sitting on my desk for 3 days now.
Austin, get on it.
Austin.
Get on it, Austin.
As I just threw it. Get on it, Austin.
She's right. Yeah. The more they learn, the more they grow. It's true. I mean, it really is true. Like, and you have to, that's part of your boss activity, right? Like, that's part of, and why I said early on, like, you need to own it, because part of being a boss, part of being a leader is recognizing the strengths and the weaknesses in your team, right? Unless you want to take it. Jason,
but
then
I don't.
You can take the package to the mailbox. I know Shayna does not want to take the package to the mailbox.
Shayna does not want to take the packages.
That is not what Shayna is passionate about. It's a $5 activity when Shayna should be doing $100 activities. Just be honest. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not beneath you. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that your time is not valuable doing that. There's things that will move the needle and help the team grow and be stronger by you doing other activities instead of taking packages to the mailbox. Of course, someday they want you pushing the ice cream cart, so that's kind of like a $5 activity. I don't know how that all works out. They're just trying to push you out.
Yeah, it'd be like, push the cart and head out that door right there. Which is fine, as long as I still get, like, either someone buys me out or I'm still getting, I still want to paycheck at that point. And I'm off doing greater things.
As a boss, you shouldn't strive to be like employees. If they do, that is a plus. Rather be respected. If they respect me, then they will follow me. Yeah, and I mean that's a huge key. You have to have respect within an organization. If there's not that two-way, and that is so critical to that. It is a two-way street. And that's where I was going earlier with, you can't be I'm the boss, bow to me. There has to be that mutual respect between you and the people on your team. It has to be a two-way street of respect. There's no way around that.
It's really been a trial and error too. Like I said, at one point we said family, and now we've done away with the family word. We were really huge about get-togethers. And so my dynamic is different than technician dynamic, because my team is here all in one building. Like, we are all right here together all day long, and thinking most of them here are women. So that, making sure the drama stays out too. But they're together all the time anyways. But we have a get-together at least once a month, required or not required, depends on the kind of get together that it is. But we still do those things outside, because we know that getting them more involved in each other is going to help build the camaraderie. It's going to help build the culture. It's going to help keep my team here longer. It'll also weed out the bad ones. Like, we can tell when they won't engage, whether it is conversations inside of our Slack channels or just in activities. They never stick around. So we know pretty fast whether they're going to be part of the team or not. And sometimes when they're that way also, there have been some that we've taken outside and been like, okay, let's talk about this. And we get them to dig in deeper. And then next thing we know, they're right up there at the top with the rest of them. And we've had that happen plenty of times as well. So
it's about finding your place and being real with your situation, whether you're a boss or an employee, or if you want to become a boss, right? Because the reality is, as owners of companies, we're always trying to grow those that are coming behind us, right? Like, we're always trying to replace ourselves. And so if you're an employee, don't think that you can't be a boss one day. So what are those qualities, right? Like, this is why this conversation is for everyone, because even if you're just a service technician right now, even if you're just a CSR right now, like, that doesn't mean that you won't be leading a team someday. The goal is to grow for, I'd say, a vast majority of organizations. Some don't. Some just want to be like 1 and 2 man shows, and that's okay. You're good.
It's fine.
But the reality is, if you want to grow, like, if you want to be on a growth path, then you need to find a company that wants to be on a growth path and align your core values and their core values, right? And fit in with that team, right?
So we have, and some of them on here have seen it. We have a 10-year org chart on our wall. It is 7.5 feet wide. It has almost 700 team members on there for the 2032. We plan on hugely, like, I don't know, Andy's got it all figured out in the sky in his head. But every time we have a team member come on, within the first day or two, and sometimes even during the interview, Sierra takes them over to that chart and says, look at this and tell me where you want to be. Where do you see yourself on this? Because there's plenty of positions other than just a CSR. And although most companies won't get to be that many team members, there's still other roles, and where do they see themselves? Do they want to be a foreman? Do they want to eventually buy you out when you no longer want to be in the business? Because most of us will get to that point. What does Andy say? There's a fine line between being an effective leader who is liked and getting too friendly with your team, which threatens your objective perspective.
That's a danger in calling your team a family. That's a huge danger in calling your team. And ask me how I know. It means that you react slowly when you should be reacting quick, right? So we talk about that 17% that's actively disengaged, right? And in a 5-man team, guess what? That's one person. Guess what? I had that one person. Guess what? Because we called each other family, it took me too freaking long. And that guy spread his cancer through the entire organization and poisoned the entire organization because I didn't act quick enough, because I wasn't an effective leader, because I wasn't serving the rest of the team.
So we had, in our instance, we had someone that was higher up in our company that in our office, she was fine, but out there she was spreading poison. But because team members thought that she was our favorite, they wouldn't tell us things that were happening and things that were being said. They wouldn't tell us their feelings about her because they didn't want to come off as tattletelling on the favorite child. And so that poisoned the team.
I've done both. I've led through fear, intimidation. I've led through kindness and respect and developing a culture. Both are effective. I can tell you which I prefer. I know which we prefers as well. You know, I want to go back to this too. The problem with respect, there's only two ways: outwork everyone or make them fear you. I think the third is just demonstrate who you are, right? And I think that comes to Andy's point: kindness and respect and developing a culture of growth. Like, if you're leading by this example, if you're leading by, these are the things, these are the core values of our company, this is who we are, they're going to get on board or they're going to get out, right? They're going to, if you clearly define what your core values are as a company, as a leader, people are going to get in line, or they're going to find the other way, because they're going to realize quickly that they don't line up with those core values, right? So I know for Tim out there, right, like, you guys put customer service so high on your list of what is important, right? You guys put your team as a list of what's important. And so if you clearly define, this is our culture, this is who we are, these are our core values, and someone new comes in and doesn't match up with that, they're going to feel out of place really quick, and they're going to find themselves on the way out. And that's not a bad thing. They just don't fit in that culture. There's plenty of places out there doing heating and air and appliance repair that are just corporate jerks. They're just out there to take money from the customer and disappear. Yeah. We see them all the time. We see them all the time in the big HVAC groups, right? They exist, and they sit there and it's dog eat, right? If that's your kind of company, cool. But that's not who I am. That's not who Shayna is. That's not who Gianelli is, right? Like, so these different types of cultures, you're going to figure out where you fit in. And if that's your type of culture, I'm not knocking you, but go find that type of company. Yeah. You're not going to be able to mold a company that has core values so rooted in customer service, so rooted in taking care of each other. You're not going to find that dog eat dog there, right? Exactly. You learn real fast who's there for pay and who's there to make a difference. If you have clearly defined what your core values are, you will find this out so quick. And it's what separates you from being a bad boss, right? You have to know who you are. You have to know what's important to you, and then clearly communicate that to the team. If you're not clearly communicating to the team, I think that's the biggest detriment, and that's the biggest separator between great bosses and crappy bosses. Great bosses know who they are, and they are that person all the time. They are consistent. They are like a rock. Bad bosses, they're knocked around by the wind and the waves, right? And so they're not consistent. What you laughing at?
Been there, done that, understand. Yeah.
We both have. That's the reality of it. That's why we can talk about this topic with some authority.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's
a great topic. It's an important topic. You need to, I think if you take nothing else away from this conversation, figure out who you are as a person, as a company, define those core values and clearly communicate that. And then lead by example. Demonstrate those core values day in, day out. Be a rock. Be a consistent beacon for the people that you're leading. And you're on your way to being a great boss. Be willing to let go of the things that you shouldn't be doing, because I'm telling you, if you're not letting go of those things that you shouldn't be doing, even if you love them, bearded wonder, you begin to move into that bad boss category because it begins to soak up your time. That's the reality of it. It soaks up time that you shouldn't be spending, right?
Yeah.
You can head off a lot of hiring errors specifically by tailoring your interview process to your core values. Make your questions and drop-ins reflect your core values. You weed out a lot. Yeah, 100%. I mean, 100%. If you're honest up front with, this is who we are as a company, they're going to realize, you know what? This isn't the company for me. I'm out. Fantastic. Thanks. We
One of
didn't
the other
waste
things
each other's time.
we did in the fall was we reevaluated our core values. And yes, they were good core values, but it really truly didn't speak to where we had grown and what we truly live by now. So it took me a long time to learn, but one, I finally got it. The one that showed up for the pay need to work for my competition. I always give them a great reference.
Yeah, because that's not, if you're just showing up to work for pay, you're not working for Tim Gianelli. I'm telling you that right now, because that's not what he is about. That is not, it's about taking care of the customer and taking care of each other as a team internally.
Yeah.
And it is very clear to Tim and his team who they are. If that's not you, that's not your place to work. If that's not you, that, you know, it's not the place to work for Shayna either.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're there to ride the time clock, it's not going to work so well for you at my office help.
With ours, it's not just about being a part of this team. It's about being a part of the teams that they answer for. We heard so many stories while we're at ASSI's, plus on top of the stories we've heard in the past about how we've been able to give freedom, or we've helped with marriages, or I mean, so much. And then to be able to bring them back to my team and say, you know, you are the reason. You are the reason. It's not me. Like I'm, I'm not the ones on the phone and taking care of those clients. I'm here for you guys. You are the ones that are here for them. And just the same as your technicians. Your technicians are there for those customers. Yeah, they're there for you, but there's more than one point here of who they're taking care of and who they're here for and who they should be caring for.
This is one of the things that I highly agree with Dean on, is that your team members are your customers, and their customers are the end user, the homeowners, the people that are in the houses that your teammates are serving, your technicians, your CSRs. That's their customer. Your customer, as an owner, as a manager, as a leader in a company, is your team members.
And
that
you
is
reflect.
Your customer.
Yep. And you reflect how they're going to reflect.
Customers are family. Yeah, I am with Shayna. It's hard for me to classify team as family. Maybe a core leadership team is like a family, but even that gets
a little tricky.
It does. It gets a little tricky. It gets a little hard because you begin mixing different worlds, and instead of being able to cut off, right? Like if someone has done something and you need to correct something, it does become harder to correct. And if you can navigate that, fantastic. I won't discourage it, but not everyone is able to navigate that dynamic. I don't know about anyone else, but I did not come from the healthiest family situation. And so classifying a team as family it becomes dysfunction. Right.
Yeah.
And so
Well, and so for the most part, when you think of family, unless you came from a dysfunctional, when you think of family, though, you think of it's supposed to be a group of people that are there for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
And so when the reason that we stopped using the word family is because when team members leave, team members leave. They're not a part of it anymore.
Right.
And yes, you can cut off family members, but it's more of it's not really family.
It leaves
It's a
a hole.
team.
It
We're a
leaves a hole.
team.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It leaves a hole that has to be filled one way or another, right? Because the reality is, even that team member that wasn't a great fit and was causing problems, it still left a hole in the organization that had to be filled by someone else. And so,
Yeah.
it,
But
it begins to get into a messy dynamic.
but if you found a way to make it work, then
Rock and roll,
rock and
100%.
roll. Like go do it.
So,
So
all right, time to take care of some business. Here we go. My office help. Shayna and her team over at My Office Help, they are not an answering service. Unless you want to watch Shayna's head explode, they are not an answering service. They can handle all your scheduling, your bookkeeping, all the things that you need to do to free up your time. My Office Help is there to help you succeed. ITD Web Design, Mike Carson. You dream it, he builds it, whether it's websites, SEO, all that fun stuff, that front-facing web presence that is so important this day and age. ITD Web Designs. Both of them have an awesome discount behind the paywall. So if you're an all access member, go check it out. Use their services. They'll help you out. TMM Academics, Brother B, him and his team down there in Miami area, they have online classes as well as in-person classes. Do you need to sharpen your sealed system skills? Do you need to sharpen your diagnostic skills? Go check out TMM Academics. Good sponsors. All right, let's hit these real quick. From experience, I do not recommend calling any person you pay on a daily basis a team member employee, family. They'll bite you in the butt. Jason, you've been there, done that. Doesn't end well. I have the same experience. If you can make it work, great. But my experience has not gone well with that, and neither has yours. Family are people you're tied to by blood. It's hard to leave. Dysfunction, team, and friendships are chosen and can be replaced if they leave or you choose them to leave. Right. If your car broke down, if not, it gets fixed. Who can get you to fix the first problem? Right. It's not that I meant my people are family. I want my people. Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, so if you're treating your customers as family, you're treating your customers correctly, like you would treat your grandma, like you would treat your mom. Again, unless you come from a dysfunctional family, it is a good way for your team members to treat your customers. I
yep.
absolutely agree. Facts. Love them, listen to them, but have your priorities in place. That is incredibly important. And that's kind of where Shannon and I were talking about, that two-way respect street. It needs to go both ways. You need to respect your team members and your other leaders. And hopefully that respect comes back. And if it doesn't, you got to make some choices. And that's where having that separation helps.
Yep.
That's what I got today. We went
That's all
through
I
a
got.
lot. We went
Yeah.
through a lot, and we stayed on
Always.
topic. We
We
didn't
did.
squirrel away too bad.
We did.
Next,
We did a good job. High five.
virtual 5. So next week we're starting another leadership book. It's going to be about 12 weeks of different topics. And so each day we'll either have topics or interviews or something going along the way. But it should be a good, interesting 12 weeks. So excited to start that next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, shout out to you guys that are watching. You guys are what makes this conversation flow. We appreciate the feedback. It's not all about us talking from our experience. It is extremely helpful on any day during the week to have you guys interacting in the comments. It's what drives the conversation. We don't know it all. So hearing your feedback makes a huge difference.
We don't know it all.
I mean, we can pretend we know it all, but it's not going to work so well. So we appreciate you guys in the audience interacting. So,
My day's been run the rest of the day,
well, you'll get over it. He'll be okay. He'll be okay.
I'll just drink my cappuccino and be okay.
There you go. All right, guys. Have a good time. And TK and EJ and whoever else will be back tomorrow with Freestyle Friday. Catch you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.